Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalam ala nabina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabi ajma'in. Alhamdulillah, this is our fourth lesson related to the course Learning Arabic Language of the Quran. I'm your teacher, Ustaad Abul Baraa Muhammad Amriki. Today, inshallah, we'll go over Jumla al-Ismiya, and we go into the introduction or brief description of Jumla al-Fi'liya. From the book today, we're going to be using Arabic Made Easy, page 20, or lesson 5 of Arabic Made Easy, lesson 5. Jumla al-Ismiya. Jumla al-Ismiya is related to Mubtada wa Khabar, the subject and the predicate in Arabic language. And Jumla al-Ismiya is related to a sentence that begins with a ism. A sentence that begins with a ism. In Arabic language, we have two types of sentence: Jumla al-Ismiya or Jumla al-Fi'liya. Jumla al-Ismiya, sentence that begins with an ism, and Jumla al-Fi'liya, sentence begin with a verb, which is called a verbal sentence. In Arab culture, Arab language, they like to use Jumla al-Fi'liya, the sentence or the verbal sentence. Today we will go over a Jumla al-Ismiya. Jumla al-Ismiya meaning a complete sentence, or we call it in Arabic also Jumla al-Mufid, a beneficial sentence. So also fall under the case of Jumla al-Mufid, which means a sentence that is beneficial, and it also falls under the case of Mubtada wa Khabar, the subject and the predicate, which further on, or later on down the line, we will go over some of these things. Reading from the book, lesson 5, a complete sentence is called a Jumla al-Mufida. Jumla al-Mufida is a beneficial sentence. Jumla al-Mufid is of two categories: Jumla al-Ismiya and Jumla al-Fi'liya. So explaining here that the sentence or the normal sentence or the sentence that begins with an ism, this is part of Jumla al-Mufida. Jumla al-Mufid or Jumla al-Mufida, correctly, Jumla al-Mufida are sentences that make sense, meaning that is al-kalam. As you know in Arabic language, al-kalam, what is speech? Al-kalam huwa lafdh al-murakkab al-mufid bil-wada. Sentences that make sense, sentence that is used, speaking, words come out the mouth using letter for the Arabic alphabets. So Jumla al-Mufid or Jumla al-Mufida, Jumla al-Mufida in Arabic language, it falls under two conditions: Jumla al-Ismiya, sentence that begins with an ism, and Jumla al-Fi'liya, and the sentence begins with a verbal sentence. A sentence which begins with an ism is called a Jumla al-Ismiya, or a noun sentence. The subject, a Jumla al-Ismiya, is called Mubtada, right? So the subject in Arabic is called a Mubtada, and its predicate is called al-Khabar. Al-Khabar. There's no carpella in Arabic, so they write, don't worry about that meaning of that word. So in Arabic, Zaydun Hasanun, Zayd is good, or Rajulun Nashitun, or Rajulu Nashitun, the diligent man, or the man is diligent, or Al-Bintu Dhakiyatun, the girl is intelligent. In these examples, Zaydun, Ar-Rajulu, Al-Bintu are the Mubtada, are the subject of the sentence. Hasanu, Nashitun, Dhakiyatun, these particular words are the Khabar, or the predicate. Al-Mubtada is generally Ma'arifa. The sentence is what? Ma'arifa. And we went over the last lessons what is considered to be Ma'arifa. And the Khabar is general Nakira. And the Khabar in general is considered to be Nakira, indefinite. In the above examples, Zaydun, Ar-Rajulu, Al-Bintu are Ma'arifa. And Hasanu, Nashitun, wa dhakiyatun, wa nakiratun. They are considered to be the cover. Ar-rajulun, or nakira, or indefinite. Ar-rajulu, ar-rajulun hasanun means a good man, or the man is good. Ar-rajulu al-hasanu means the good man. Bintun dhakiyatun means an intelligent girl. Al-bintu al-dhakiyatu, which means the intelligent girl. These are not complete sentences, right? Here, example: al-hasanun, al-hasanu, dhakiyatun, al-dhakiyatu are sifat or adjectives, and raju and ar-rajulu, bintun, al-bintu are al-mawsuf, describing the words that are the things, the nouns that are being described. L is an indicator, right? L is an indicator of jism. Jism means type or anwan. Al-qalbu aminun, the dog is faithful. Ata'u mabuta is sometimes used to indicate unit of a class. So now he's off topic. Now the author, he's off topic, but this part of the lesson is very important. Ata'u marbuta is used also, we know it means something that is feminine. It's also used for a class in something like shajara, which means tree. Shajaratun, a type of tree or a particular type of tree. So shajara does not mean tree by itself, right? It does mean tree actually. It says shajara does not mean a tree. Yes, it does mean a tree in Arabic language. What a shajaratu, it means a tree or a type of tree. A shajaru, he says here, it doesn't mean tree. A bakarun is a cow, a class of a cow, and bakaratun is a female cow. So shajara is a tree, but he's saying that shajaratun is a particular type of tree, but it means something for class, and also used for fruits and vegetables. You find in Arabic language for certain class of things. They also use this for plural and singular words related to fruits. So shajaratu as class as plants. So it's saying that the shajara is something that's classed as plant, and shajaratun is a tree. And that's true. Now I have some vocabulary words, and we're not going to go over them. It's something the student could go over by themselves. But I like to break down again Jamlu Mufida or Jamlu Ismiya. What is Jamlu Ismiya? The sentence that begins with an ism. Jamlu Fi'liya, it's a sentence that begins with a verb. Jamlu Al-Ismiya and Jamlu Al-Fi'liya are Jamlu Mufida. So these two types of sentence, the sentence that begins with an ism and the sentence that begins with a verb, these are considered or fall under the category of Jamlu Mufida, the beneficial sentence, or we say in Arabic, or in English language, a complete sentence. And there's many lessons, broad lessons, explaining this with different examples and different terminology to explain this particular lesson. So every person who study Arabic, either the sentence in Arabic is going to be Jamlu al-Ismiya or Jamlu Fi'liya. There are other terms you're going to see, phrasal sentence, broken sentence. There are other words, there are other phrases, there are other things that are being used, but I don't want to introduce it right now. Right now, I don't want to introduce it, right? Particular for broken sentence, there's certain terminology, but I don't want to introduce it right now. Lesson 6. So the goal for today, inshallah, went over Jamlu Ismiya. What is Jamlu Ismiya? What is Jamlu Fi'liya? This particular lessons in this particular book, Arabic Made Easy. I want to catch up few lessons in this book, then later on go back to this book, because some of the lessons in this particular book, the way it's being explained, it's not explained at all or not explained well in this particular book. But we're going to go back most likely to this book, and we're going to go more into verbs. When we get more deep into verbs, this book's explain different forms of verb well and things like this. And this is when we will probably go back to the book, because verbs are very important in Arabic language. Next lesson is called Al-Muthanna, which is lesson 6, Al-Muthanna, related to Al-Adad, number, meaning singular, dual, or plural. I mentioned in previous lessons that in Arabic language, two is not plural. One is singular, two is muthanna, dual, and plural is three and more. Three and more. There are three numbers in Arabic. Three categories. You should say three numbers. It don't make sense because these things here are not numbers. There are three numbers in Arabic: mufrad, muthanna, and jumbo. This is wrong. His English, the way he uses English is wrong. These are not numbers. Mufrad is not a number. Muthanna is not a number. But it's categorized, meaning singular, dual, and plural. Right? Mufrad, singular. Muthanna, dual, meaning two, and jumbo, plural. In English language, two is a plural. In the English language, two objects, two things is considered to be a plural. But in the Arabic language, two things are not considered a plural. It is not singular. No, it's a plural. It is muthanna, dual. It is dual. It is dual. Al-muthanna is constructed from the mufrad. So this is very important because this lesson, which explaining the dual, is very important. And later on, you're going to find later on there are some plural words or some singular words or plural words and singular words that look mulhaqu muthanna. Mulhaqu muthanna. There's some singular words and some plural words in Arabic that look very similar to a dual, like abawan, 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 which means the word for parent, right? Parent. Some say it means abawan means to a father, the father and the mother. I'm sorry, the father and the mother, right? Some people say it's the dual. Some people say it's a singular, right? Some people say it's a dual. Some people say it's a singular. So itilaf is some words in Arabic grammar or Arabic language. So itilaf. So I want to teach you here, understand here, why it's important to understand muthanna, how to make a singular object to two objects. So you need to know the singular of the word to make two. I'm going to give you an example before I read the book. Muslimun, Muslim, Muslimun, which is making it nakira. I'm making the word Muslim nakira, indefinite. Muslimun. All right. Now I'm going to say the word Muslim. I'm not going to say the ending vowel. Muslim. Okay. Muslim. Now, how I take the word Muslim and make it dual for two Muslim men? I add alif and noon. Alif and noon. Muslimanu. Right? Muslimani. Kitabani. Two books. Muslimani. Right? Two Muslim. Muslimani. Adding alif and noon. Adding alif and noon to the singular of the word. Waladani, two boys, right? So, reading the book now, its construction of the muthanna, the dual, is by cutting off the ending case and adding the suffix alif and noon and kasra for the normative marfu'a. In the case of being marfu'a, in last class, we went over what is marfu'a, what is mansub, what is majrur. So I'm going to be using these terms now, as he's using the terms here. Normative, meaning it is marfu'a. Alif and noon takes the place of marfu'a. Marfu, normal case. Normal case, being marfu, meaning something that ends in dhamma or dhammatan, right? We make the dual now, adding alif and noon. It stands for something being al-marfu'. Alright? Because here, we don't have the tanween here. We're not going to see here tanween. Muslimani. Muslimatani. Muslimani, two Muslim men. Muslimatani, two Muslim women. Adding alif and noon to the particular ending of the mufrad, ending of the singular of the word. This is very important in Arabic because we have some words in Arabic language that mulhaqu muthanna. Mulhaqu muthanna means that it looks like a dual. There's some words in Arabic that looks like a duel. I can't think on the top of my head, but actually I have a book here in Arabic. Akil Afia bin Malik. And Afia ibn Malik, Shar ibn Akil, was a very famous book on Arabic grammar. More famous than Al-Jurumiyya. He gives you some examples. When looking at the index, inshallah, I want to find some examples. I want to show you why knowing the dual and the pattern of the dual is important. Anybody who's following me now, inshallah, I'm reading from the book Arabic Made Easy. We on lesson 6. Lesson 6. I just want to show a quick example of some words. Should be in here. Okay, I understand. It's 2 chapters. Sometimes it's a good advice when you buy books and they're in volumes, try to buy the books in separate volumes, not 2 or 3 volumes in one book. Because when it comes to use the index, it's the index, you can't tell where the book ends and where is the index for the books. I always like to buy, like this is a 4-volume book, they put it in two sets. Me personally, in Arabic books, I try my best to buy them all the volumes by itself. Here we go, إشارة إلى مثنى وإشارة إلى جمع. Excellent, here we go. Page 63. 63. 64. That is 63, yes. 63, yeah. Tani. Here we go. إذا مثنى مذكر في حال رفع ثاني وفي حال نصب جار وثاني. I'm trying to find a quick example. Sometimes in the sharh, in the explanation of the book, they give you good examples. can't find an example right now. It should give right here. Inshallah, later on, try to find some words that look very similar to a dual, but they are not. I should have just looked up on the internet, but I don't have the time right now. So, the duals of the words, some duals of the words, they have some singular words that the dual looks very similar to a muthanna, but it's not a muthanna. And they believe there's some plural words that the dual, some plural words that look very similar to the dual. So it's very important how you understand, how do you break down the muthanna, the dual in Arabic. First thing is, you need to know what is the singular of the word. Even the words that look like duals, if you take away what is added on to the word, which is alif and nun, if you take away from the word, for example, alif and nun, from the muthanna, from the dual, from the mafrad, from the singular of the word, if you take away alif and nun, you get back the what? The mafrad, the singular of the word. So some duals, or some words that look similar to duals, but they're not, either they are singular themselves or they are plural. If you take away the alif and nun, that you don't get back the original word, then you know that this particular word, the alif and nun, is part of the actual word, and that the origin of the word is not a dual. It's the origin of the word. It is the singular of the word is not there. Either that word itself is a singular, or that word itself is a plural. Let's look up real quick, inshallah. Mulhaqu mufanna. If you look at Arabiya. So I can give you some examples. I know Abuwan is one example. Actually, Abuwan, that's one example. Mulhaqu al-mutanna. Some scholars have itilaf. There's some itilaf, or rather related to mulhaqu al-muthanna. For Durusu Arabiya. Wikicyclopedia in Arabic. Thank you. Actually, sometimes Wikicyclopedia in Arabic, sometimes they just take from famous books and the famous things about certain things and they put it there. Here we go. Walidan. Walidan. Alright? So it's giving an example. Ja'al walidan. Kulluhuma. Bintan. So walidan. Walidain. Al-walidain. Kulliyahuma. Walidan. Walidain. He's talking about something as being as a tawqid. That's not the example I'm looking for. Muthanna wa mulhaqu. Here we go. المثنى ودل على اثنين واثنتين وانتهي بألف ونون وياء والنون ورفع المثنى بألف ملحق مثنى هناك تدل على المثنى ولكن ليس مثنى إنه مفرد والله مفرد من لفظ وكلمات شجرتان مثنى لأن لها مفرد شجرة وأما كلمات اثنين وهي تدل على مثنى ولكن لا فرد من لفظ. Okay, the word اثنين itself. Here we go. So it's saying in Arabic the word اثنين. The word اثنين. اثنين in Arabic means two or the second. Two. اثنين. He said if you take away the alif and nun, you don't get back the original word. So this is how the word is structured. So that's the example right there I didn't think about. But the word itself, اثنين. اثنين. This word here, it means in Arabic, اثنين. Two. Two. He said if you take away اثنين, if you take away the alif and nun on this particular word, which is how you spell it, Hamza, alif, tha, nun, alif, اثنان. Right? اثنان. Which means like the second or it means second. He says, or something that is two in general. If you take away the alif and noon, he said you don't have the original of the word. Then that means here it is mulhaqun muthanna. It looks similar to the dual, but it's really here the mufrad, the mufrad, the mufrad. I'm looking for another example. I know abwan. Abwan is one example, but abwan is itilaf. So going back to the dual. Going back to the dual. The dual, for example, I gave you the alif and noon. This is very important. You take the mufrad and you always add alif and noon to the particular word. Then there's a case when the word that is muthanna is going to be marfu'a. Alif and noon represents like the tanween. Alright? Like the tanween, fatatan, kasratan, for example. If something makes the word now to be majrur or mansub, then what happened is the alif becomes a ya. Fi baytain. Fi baytain. In the two house. Why is baytain like baytan? Because now the fi makes the word kasra, majrur, right? The kasra here, meaning not going to use kasra no more, it's going to be ya. If it's mansub, darraba babaini, darraba al-babaini, he hits the two doors. All right. Here in this case, the ya represents being mansub, meaning it takes the place of fatah. So we use, in the case of the word being majrur, and then in kasra, or mansub, and then in fatah, the ya takes the place of the being majrur, meaning it takes the place of kasra, and it takes the place of the fatah. All right? So that's when we have the example, muslimani. This is marfu case, normal case. Right? Baytani, two houses. Right? Baytani is in the case of marfu. Right? The ending of it, the ending vowel of the noon has kasra, da'iman, thabit. This is fixed. It ends with kasra. Muslimani is part of the wazn. It's part of the pattern or the structure of the dual. Adding alif, noon, and kasra. For the case of marfu, the normal case, like tanween, like damatan, for example. Right? So muslimani, muslimatani, muslimani, two musliman, muslimani, two musliman, men, muslimatani, two Muslim women, for example. Right? It's in a normal case. Baytani, al-baytani, or baytani, two houses, for example. Now when I say fi, in two houses, fi al-baytain. I don't add here kasra majrur, making the word kasra, but I add here the ya. The ya here represents the being majrur or being mansub. Right? So that's the pattern for that particular word, so people understand the duals in Arabic. What is a dual in Arabic? How you make a dual? In the dual in Arabic, the pattern is alif and noon. There's some cases the pattern change into the letter waw, or waw was added before the alif in some cases like this, but that's for later on. That's a little bit the next level up. The next level up when somebody get more advanced in Arabic or studying Arabic in advance, or in the structure where in a classroom and it's advanced, then you would learn all the different patterns, inshallah. But only teaching these two cases. So now looking, what's the difference between the mufrad, the muthanna, and the jammu? What's the difference between the singular of the word, the dual of the word, and the plural? This is very important. The duals are easiest thing in Arabic related to the ism. The dual is the easiest thing. The plural in Arabic, the plural in many cases, either the plural of a singular word in Arabic, some cases, there's a changing of the word. The word is altered a little bit. There's something being added. Two or three letters being added to it. Right? For example, Muslim, Muslimuna. This is here, Jamal Salam. This here is a sound plural. I just added waw and noon. Right? Then it has a feminine form. Muslimatun, the feminine form. This is making this word Muslim. This is related to plural. But that's only considered to be a sound plural. Do you have broken plurals? Kitabun, which is a book. Kutub. Oh, it's very different. Kitabun, kutub. Here, a letter is deleted. Rajulun, which means a man. Rijalun. There's an extra letter added here. Some cases, the plural is a totally different word. It's a very different word in some cases. Another example, if you have the man, you have what? The woman. Imra'atun, which means a woman. The plural is nisa. And nisa'u. And nisa'u or nisa'un. And also niswa. These are plural. It's the plural word for female. The singular is imra'atun or mura'ah. The woman, al-mur'ah. And nisa'u. The plural is a totally different word altogether. Right? Some plurals, the word, a letter, two letters are going to be added, or something's going to be added. All right? So the plural, it takes more work. Plural takes more work. The singular, it is how it is. The dual, easiest thing to understand. Dual is the easiest thing to understand related to the ism. Because the dual, either you're going to add alif and noon or ya and noon in the case of the word being majroor or mansub. Very easy. Then you have later on in advanced case, you're not going to see in the beginning or even intermediate studying Arabic when you add additional letter related to the wazn, related to the pattern how the word was written. There's some words that when you add alif and noon to the word itself, maybe noon is part of the original part of the word, or some things that added to the word, you have to add the letter waw like this. We talk about this later. Let's talk about these patterns later, but you see them rarely, but you need to know them if you want to get deeper into learning and reading, understanding the Arabic language. If anybody have a question, you can ask it now before I get deep into the lesson. Because once I go over this, I'm not going to repeat this no more. Because the dual is mostly one of the easiest things in Arabic language is the dual. Related to the ism, it's the easiest. The mufrad, as the word as is. The mufrad, the singular of the word as is, as you see it. The dual, I take the original part of the mufrad and I add alif and nun. Easy, simple. Jam'u, plural, takes more time, take a little more emphasis, and this is why. And learning Arabic language, the Quran, I didn't go over that lesson in this book because it jumped all of these things, right? And it's teaching you about the dual, but it teaches you nothing about what is feminine, what is masculine. Well, no, it didn't teach you none of these things, and it was jumping to plural words, and you don't even know what some of these words are feminine words. You don't even know what's a feminine word, and they never explained this before the lesson. So I didn't even bother with this particular lesson in this book because they skipped a lot of stuff that's more important. So back to the dual. The dual, we should be finished. I think I explained it in the best case, the easiest way. I think I explained it better than the actual book, but we're reading the book. So it says there is no tanween for the muthanna. Now I'm reading from the book. There is no tanween. There is no tanween. You're not going to find no tanween. Why is that? Now it's time to put the thinking cap on. Why there is no tanween for the muthanna? Why there's no tanween for the muthanna? Okay, if I write alif noon and put tanween, then it means, for example, the word is written like this, or the word is structured like this, like ithnain, like ithnainun, right? It has alif noon at the end. If it has actually tanween on the word, then we know that it's not a dual. It is not a dual. The pattern of it is not a dual. It is a singular form. Or it has tanween at the end. It could be singular or plural, for example. So it have alif and noon at the end, and you put tanween, right tanween, whether it's dhammatan, fatatan, kasratan on the word, then we know this is not a dual, because duals, the pattern of it is not written with tanween. It's with alif and noon and ending with kasra, or ya and noon, ending in kasra. All right, and the kasra is fixed. The kasra there is fixed. All right, whether you put alif and lam in front of the word or not, it's fixed. And one kasra at the end, it's fixed like this. It's part of the pattern and the structure of the dual. So if you put tanween on the word, like I gave you the example, ithnainun, for example, then we know that, hey, this is not a dual. This means the word two or second, for example. All right, in this particular example here. So if I put alif noon and then in kasra, from that pattern, that structure and pattern, when I see it, I know it's dual form. I know it's the dual form. Whether it's ya, noon kasra, alif, noon kasra, I know it's dual. If ending tanween, then it's not a dual word. It either is a mufrad. And most likely, it is a mufrad. It is a singular word, not a plural. It is a mufrad, most likely. So there's no tanween. So he given an example of a word, ainun, which means eye. And he says ainani, which means two eyes, and it's in the normal case. What do you mean? Marfu'a. Then he writes, for example, ainaini, two eyes. Here it is in the case of being majroor or mansub. He adding ta marbuta. If his word is feminine or is ending in ta or marbuta, then we know, okay, muslimatun, which is ending in ta or marbuta. Then I just add alif nun, muslimatani, elongating the ta marbuta is being elongated with adding alif in the nun, muslimatani, right? And I gave you an example, qadimatani, meaning servant, female servant, two female servants, right? Qadimatani, two female servants. Either the word is majrur or mansub. So that in that case, he said when the muthanna is mudaf, it's very important. When the muthanna, when the muthanna, the dual, is in the case of al-mudaf, the noon is deleted. So we learned about mudaf last week, right? So he's giving you an example. The mudaf means what? Now the possessive case, right? The possessor of the item. So now we're going to give an example. Ein, that word I. Now we're going to make it dual. Ainani is how you make the word dual. But now he's going to put it in the case of a mudaf. Ainan, Zaydin. Aina Zaydin. So he takes the dual of the word, which is the mudaf. The noon is deleted. And later on, we're going to learn about Jamul Asalam, the sound plurals, which ended in waw and noon, is the same case. If in the case of mudaf, even for those who probably already know or learned before, what are sound plurals? When in the case of mudaf, or even for the sound plural, that the noon is also deleted in the case of mudaf. What? Mudaf ilayhi. The noon is going to be deleted. This is very, very important because sometimes people read it, they don't notice this particular rule. And it's a common rule. You might not see it a lot, but it's there in Arabic and you're going to see it, so you should know it. You have to know it. Not should know it, have to know it. So he gave the example. Aina, ainun, or ainani, two eyes. Now you make it in the case of al-mudaf, Aina Zaydin, the two eyes of Zayd. So that noon now is what? It's deleted. The two eyes of Zayd. In this case, in that particular case, is marfu'a, right? Now you're going to make it in the case of majroor or mansub. Same thing. Remember in the case when it's now as being majroor or mansub, then what happens? We know we use instead of using alif, tabaddal bi ya. It's changed with ya, right? It's changed with ya. So ya becomes the case. So let's look at the example. So in the case of being in majroor mansub, for example, aynaini, aynaini. So now let's make it mudaf. Ayni Zayden. Ayni Zayden. Right? Some people might get it confused and say the eye of Zayd. Zayd's, my eye is Zayd, but that don't make sense in Arabic. So you know here, the two eyes of Zayd, Ayni Zayden. So Ayni is in the case of what? Mudaf والمجروع أو منصوب في هذا المثال. In this particular example, the two eyes of Zayd is called the oblique case, meaning that it's majroor or mansub. Sifat must agree with the mansub, so the adjective must agree with the noun. And numbers, right? So I mentioned that maybe 2 lessons ago when we talk about adjectives. It should be in the video or lesson number 2. Lesson number 2, I mentioned al-mudaf. As-sifat. What is the adjective? As-sifat. Alright? What is sifat? What is the adjective? How it must agree with the noun and gender. Right? If it's masculine, the adjective must be masculine. If it's feminine, it must be feminine. In gender, it must be equivalent. Definite indefiniteness. It must be equivalent. And I gave you an example when the case is not. And that's in the case of the Jamal Mufida. Jamal Mufida. Right? I gave you that example from last week. Now, adjective here must agree, understand it. It must agree with the number. If the word is singular, dual, or plural, the adjective must agree. What the plural form of it, there's the rule change or breaks. But we learn that later on when we learn about dual and we learn about the plurals in Arabic, because there's different types of plural and the patterns of how they're written are altered. And there's some cases that we use for a word that might appear to be masculine, that it's plural, it's written, or all broken plurals, or use the pronouns and demonstratives of singular feminine form, right? هذه خطب. Right? هذه كتب. I don't say هؤلاء كتب, right? هي كتب. I don't say هن or هم كتب, right? I say هي كتب. هذه كتب, right? For example, هؤلاء المسلمون, right? I'm using some demonstratives according to a Muslimun is plural for men, 3 or more, so I have to use هؤلاء المسلمون, for example. But if something is a broken plural, like kutub, I have to use the singular feminine form of pronouns and adjectives to work and describe it, to work with it. But we're not ready for that in this particular lesson. So, but it's very important. When it says here the sifat must agree with the noun, it's a very important lesson, right? So here it's showing an example of muthanna, that if the if the word or the ism or the noun that's being used is muthanna, it is dual, then the adjective must also be dual. Just like if it's singular, the adjective must be singular. If it's dual, the adjective must be dual. The noun is dual, the adjective must be dual. It must agree with it in everything. And then if it's plural, it must be plural. But there is in the plural form, the rule alters a little bit. The rule does alter a little bit, but we're not ready for that now. So it's saying here, related to the mawsuf, the mudhanna must agree with the adjective. So it's giving you an example. So in the next example is using al-mudaf wa mudaf ilayhi wa sifat. So it's giving the mudaf wa mudaf ilayhi wal mawsuf. Sifatul mawsuf. Alright? So it's giving you The possessive case, taking all the lessons from the previous lessons, now throwing it all in one lesson. See how it's important to review all the previous lessons, because now it's taking all the previous lessons we learned and throwing them all together in one lesson. Aina al-binti jamilatani. The two beautiful eyes of the girl. Right? The two beautiful eyes of the girl. Aina al-binti jamila. Right? So the first example, Ainani, Aina binti jamilatan. The two beautiful eyes of the girl. Aina al-binti jamila. So the adjective here, jamila, is not for ayn. It's not for ayn. It's not for the eye. It's for the girl. Because here, al-bint is what? It is mufrad. So it's mufrad. So the adjective is also mufrad. In the first example, Aina al-binti jamilatani. Right? Aina jamilatani is for the word ayn. Ainani. Why? Because aina here is in the case of mudafa, but it's dual. And we know the word ayn is what? What is the word ayn in Arabic? From the previous lesson, it is what? All body parts in pairs are what? Feminine. All body parts that are pairs are what? Feminine. This is part of the lesson from last week. From last week. All body parts and pairs are feminine. So the adjective must be feminine. So that first example here. Aina al-binti al-jamilatan. You notice the word ayn. Aina is already aynani. It's what? It is marfu'. It's in a normal case. And it's dual. And it's feminine. So we know where the adjective here is for what? It's for ayn. Because the word ayn agrees with the what? The adjective here, ayn, agrees with what? The mawsuf. Aynan. Why? First, the word aynan is what? It is marifa. We learn from mudaf case that the first part of mudaf is always what? Is always marifa. So the word jamilatan is what? As alif and lam in front of the word. Huh? Aynani or ayna here. What? What's part of the rule? It's what? It's feminine. So jamilatani. Al-jamilatani is what? It is also feminine. Because the word ta mabuta is here, but here in the case of ta, it is here. And then we have ayna. Huh? It is what? It is dual. And its adjective is dual. It is what? Marifa. It is marifa. And its adjective is marifa. It is dual, and the adjective is dual. And the word al-bint, it is what? Mudaf ilayhi. Wal marifa is mudaf ilayhi. It is marifa and is majroor. Huh? So the word al-bint, it is marifa. Huh? Has alif and lam in front of it. It is majroor. Huh? Because it ends in kasra. So we know the word jamilatan is for what? The word aynani. Simple. Okay? All the rules from the previous lesson come now in this lesson. This is why in Arabic, when you study Arabic and you're following the curriculum, you're following the book, it's very important you know the lessons before you go to the new lesson, because you're going to find that all the previous lessons they gave you before, they're going to use them in every new lesson. So everything we learned from before, previously, from all the lessons, we've seen majority of it, all of it now in this one sentence. And this one sentence right now. Everything that we learned from before, from the beginning of this book, from the first chapter of this book and the other book, we're seeing it now. Because aynani, or ayna al-binti al-jamilatan. Well, we learned what? What's the first thing we learned when we came to these courses? Al-kalam, ism, wa fi'l wa harf. Huh? What is speech? Al-kalam, ism. So aynan is a what? It's an ism. Hey, that's everything we learned from the previous lessons are coming now. In this one sentence right here, we can see the old. So we understand that the lessons are very important. The lessons in Arabic, the previous lessons are very important. So if you're following me and you understand, alhamdulillah, either you study these things before or you're following the videos before, now inshallah you could benefit. If you don't understand, it means you got to go back to video, first lesson, video 1, video 2, video 3, before you go to video 4, because you won't understand the previous lessons in the book. Second example. Aina al-binti jamilati. So now it's different. The two eyes of the beautiful girl, or the beautiful girl, two eyes. The beautiful girl, two eyes. The beautiful girl, two eyes. Alright? Why didn't it say the girl is beautiful? Go back to the previous lessons now. What's Jamal Mufid? What is Jamal Mufida? Sorry, what is Jamal Mufida? What's a beneficial sentence? Jamal Mufida, a beneficial sentence. What is it in Arabic? Jamal Mufida. What is it? What is kalam? This previous lesson about the sifat must agree with the noun. The sifat must agree with the noun. And I gave you an example that sometimes the sifat is not going to agree with the noun. Al-qallamu maqsurun. These examples I gave, I believe. Al-qallamu maqsurun. Well, the adjective here, this is not agreeing with the noun, because the noun here is what? Al-marifa. But the adjective is what? Nakira. Why? Because this is a complete sentence. Jamlu mufida. Jamlu mufida. It's a complete sentence. Alright? Jamlu mufida. Correct way to say it. Just in case I said it Jamlu mufida a few times, thinking other videos. It was Jamlu mufida. Alright? So it's a what? It's a complete sentence. So here in this case, in this second example, we're seeing all the rules from the previous lessons. Now, in this second sentence, or the second example, or the small sentence, we're looking at it. All of it's coming to play. Aina al-binti al-jamilati. Alright? The eye of the beautiful girl. Why I know Jamila is not for the word ain or ainani. Why? Because the word Jamila, it is an adjective, but it's what? It's feminine and it's singular form. So I know it's not talking about the eye, ainani, because ainani is what? It is dual. Here we go now. Previous lesson. Aina al-binti jamilatani. Here we go. It's similar to the first sentence just now, but it's not. There's a difference in interpretation, because some word here is nakira. There's a word here that is nakira. Why the word aina al-binti jamilatani? Because the word jamilatani, why it's nakira? It is dual. The adjective tells you what's going on in the sentence. It is dual. It is feminine. But why is it not with alif lam? Question. Time to use the brain. So the meaning is very different. I gotta look what it means in English. In Arabic language, you gotta look at the words, what's going on in the sentence. You gotta look at the structure of the word. You gotta look at the ending vowels, the structure of the word, what letters are there, how it's structured. Is the word marif or nakira? You gotta see these things. If each word in a sentence, what is the ism or fi'l or harf? It helps you explain and break down grammatically the correct meaning and comprehension of the sentences and the words. So here, Aina al-binti jamilatan. So we know the word jamilatan, it's feminine, it's dual, but it's nakira. It is nakira. It is nakira. What it means? The eye of the girl, the two eyes of the girl is beautiful. The two eyes of the girls are beautiful. And I wasn't reading it in English. I try to interpret what it means from comprehension in Arabic, right? So that's for the example of muthanna. Related to anything else related to muthanna, there's some other examples of different patterns in muthanna, but we're not ready for it. So let's end off at the muthanna. I don't want to jump into al-jam'u, because jam'u is going to be like the jam'u salam mudhakkar, and jam'u salam mu'annath, and jam'u muqassir, broken plural, single is sound plural, masculine and feminine, or broken plurals, which there's a lot of rules to the broken plurals. We're not ready for it today. That's what I want to go to the next lesson, right? Which is lesson 7. I'll leave that for next week or next Friday, inshallah, because it's going to be too much for everybody to grasp. So today we learned the muthanna. And I said the muthanna is the easiest thing to understand related to the mufrad, the muthanna, and the jam'u. The muthanna is the easiest one because you need to know what is the mufrad, and you have to add alif and noon or ya and noon. Alif and noon in the case of marfu', ya and noon, alif and noon in kasra. Alif, noon, and kasra is very important. Muslimani, very important because when I hear it, Muslimani, ani. I hear this, I know it's dual. Muslimani, mani, aini. I know this is dual. Muslimatani, I know this is dual. Muslimatani, I know this is dual. And later on in Arabic, you're going to find there is dual for demonstratives. Alright? Hadani, hadaini, hatani, hataini. Learn that later on. Alright, so the dual is very important because in Quran, you're going to see it in Quran, you're going to see it in Hadith, you're going to see it in Arabic language, you're going to hear it. Even today, even in common Arabic, people don't hear it, people use it a lot in some cases, in common or dialects, as they say, but in proper speaking Arabic properly, reading things in Arabic, whether it's related to things about our time now, or old Arabic language, old books, and the religion and stuff, you're definitely going to see it there. And even to write in Arabic proper at our times, you're going to see these things there. So you must understand what is dual. Because the dual, this is for the ism. And there's other isms. Ism and ishara. The ism of pointing out. Hada wa hadihi. Right? How make hada to plural. Ha'ula'i. How make it dual. Hadani. How make it majrur mansur. Hadaini. So we need to know the dual. The dual is the easiest thing for al-ism because you're only adding alif, noon, and kasra, or ya, noon, and kasra in the case of majrur or mansub. Easiest thing. I think from all the lessons I gave, this is the easiest, most easiest concept. Then I talked about mulhaqu al-muthanna. Mulhaqu al-muthanna. Or mulhaqu al-muthanna. Things that follow or look like a dual in Arabic. Ithnatan. Add an alif and noon. Alif and noon is at the end of the word. But I say, how you know if it's dual? When you take away alif, the ending with alif and noon, if you don't get back the original mufrad, singular of the word, then you know that, hey, it is not a dual, that this is how the word is structured and written, and it's going to end in tanween. Right? But in Arabic language and reading and writing Arabic language, you usually don't see no tanween, no vowels or harakats in reading things. For example, I'm looking at a book right here. Put it very close to the camera. I hope I don't knock it down. There's no vowels written here. There's no vowels. I'm reading this page. There's no vowels written here. No vowels. Only vowel I see on Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim al-Muqaddam in the introduction of this print of the book. Everything else, here, the vowels here and there, once in a while, once in a blue moon. So in Arabic, you got to know how to word. Why and how I know the word without the vowel? I have to understand vocab, have to have vocab, understand grammar, understand structure of the sentence. And this right here, this lesson right here, is part of understanding the structure of words and sentences. Right? Muslimani here, alif noon is on a word. So I write down a word. Muslimani. So how I know this word is a dual and not a plural? I put Muslim, Mim, Sin, Lam, Mim, Alif, Noon. No vowels on it. How I know this word is dual and not the root of the word? Delete the ending of it. Alif and Noon. I get what? Muslim. Ithnatan. I take away Alif and Noon. I get a word that has no meaning. So I know that's the root of the word. I give you, for example, Abuwan. Abuwan. Abuwan is actually a prime example. Abuwan. Abuwan means parents in Arabic. Abuwan, right? Some would say, well, Abuwan sounds like a form of saying maybe it's a dual form of parent, of father, meaning father and mother. Some people would say that, right? Walidani. walidani, walidain. Right? We hear this in Arabic. So this is a good example. Abuwan. Abuwan. So let me write this down. I gotta look at stuff in Arabic. Abuwan. So I'm writing it down. Abuwan. Abuwan. I take away alif and nun. I don't get the root of the word. If it's going to be father, it should be ab. Ab is father, right? Ab, right? It's father, right? So I don't get the root of the word because there's a vowel there. Abuwan, right? Abani, right? So abuwan, alif and nun. But some scholars say differ. But I take away alif and nun. I don't get ab. I don't get the word ab. So that's an actual word. That is the mufrad of the word. That is the mufrad. Some scholars have some itilaf. You can see some itilaf and some issues in Arabic grammar, even with certain words and certain things. It's itilaf. A lot of things in Arabic grammar. But a beginner student and learning Arabic language, you're not going to know none of this stuff until you learn Arabic and can read and understand things in Arabic language. And you're going to start seeing what is itilaf, how the itilaf come, who has the stronger view, what is the proof. That's for somebody who's more advanced, right? So I took the word abwad. I took away alif and nun, the ending of the two words. I don't get the original. I don't get the mufrad. I don't get a mufrad. I don't get a word here. I do the same thing. Walidan means parents. Walidani, walidan. I take away alif and nun. I get walid. I get son. So somebody may say walidan. Somebody say, hey, that is the origin of the word. The original of the word. Walidan means parents. You can take away the alif and nun. Walid means son, right? Walid means son. So there's a interpretation here that's going to be changed, because walidan or walidain, which means my parents. If I say walid means the son, right? It means son. Or when we make the plural walidani, there's something here that's, something here, it means son. There's something here missing. You understand? So I always take away the alif and nun to see what is the root of the word. To see the root of the word. Muslimani. I take away the alif and nun, I get the mufrad, Muslim. If I take away alif and nun, and I see the word, I see the mufrad, I know I have, this word is a muthanna, because I take away alif and nun, I see the mufrad there. Very easy, right? Very easy. Ithnain or ithnan. This word means second, right? Ithnan. So alif, tha, ithnan, noon, alif, noon, ithm. Take away alif and noon, ithm. It's not a word. Ithm. What is this? No, I don't get the mufrad of the word. So I know this is the structure of the word. This is it. It's mufrad itself. This word itself, it is mufrad. Arabic is very simple, very easy, makes sense. Arabic language, every rule makes sense. Every rule, some way, some form, some fashion, it makes sense. Some people said Arabic language is hard. It's not hard. All the rules make sense, but there are a lot of rules. Arabic language, there are a lot of rules. So yes, everything makes sense, but there's just a lot of rules to know. So you learn rules in Arabic little by little. The dual is the most easiest thing to understand related to the mufrad, the muthanna, and the dual. The mufrad, muthanna, wa jam'u. The mufrad, the singular, the dual, and the plural. The plural is like too much to it. That's why I can't even explain it tonight. I wanted to introduce the plurals tonight, but I decided if I throw it out right now, it can get many people very much confused about between what is the dual and the plural, because plural has a science, is a whole category which it takes time to explain, and it takes a lot of effort and energy to put it into it, to explain it, and have to also understand about feminine and masculine words. And this is why I didn't go over that lesson in this book related to the mufrad, muthanna, and dual, because it didn't explain none of these things about what is a feminine word, what is an adjective, how the adjective works, what's a masculine and feminine word. He didn't explain none of this in this book. He didn't explain none of that well. So I skipped using this book for a while. We probably go back to the book when we're going to go over verbs, but I skipped it because I went over that. What is a dual, what is a singular, and what is a plural, and I never explained to you what is an adjective, what is a feminine word, how the adjective must agree with the noun, what are 3 parts of speech, What's the difference between ism and fi'l and harf? What's the difference between ism and fi'l? What's the difference between all of this? What is the mudaf case, ownership? What is the adjective? How the adjective works with the noun? How the adjective is structured. This is very important before we go into the duals, because now we get into before we get into the plural words, because plural words, it has something related to all those subjects that we learned before and just mentioned just now, related to feminine words. Feminine words. What are feminine words? We learn about feminine words: city, towns, all the letters in the alphabet, body parts in pair. There's some other things that are feminine. I didn't mention it here, and I didn't mention it yet. We're going to see it when we go to the plurals, because there's two types of plurals: sound plural and the broken plural. Sound plural has two categories: masculine plural words with ending in waw and noon, like muslimuna. You heard what I said there? Muslimuna, adding waw, noon, and fatha. Muslimuna, and it has feminine words to make it. How to make this sound plural feminine? Muslimatun. Muslimatun, adding alif and ta at the end of the word. Alright? Muslimuna, fixed, ending fatha, fixed. Muslimatun, mu'arab, it's not fixed, but there's some things related to it that they can't accept. Alright? We're not going to go over that now because it's too heavy and it's too much and people are not going to get it. Then we have broken plurals. Talib, tulab. Tulab, it's a broken plural. Kitabun, kutub, it is a broken plural. Even plurals related to adjective, we have broken plurals. Ganiyun, or fakirun, fukara, fukara. Right? Adjective also have plurals. Adjective have plurals. Huh? Cigar. So we have to understand, because some broken plurals, like kutub, I'm describe the adjective with it. I have to know about how to make an adjective feminine now, because I'm going to use the feminine single form of the adjective for broken plural, like kutub. Huh? Hadihi kutub. I'm going to say these Muslim men, ha'ula'i muslimun, ha'ula'i muslimat, ha'ula'i ulaika mukminun, for example. Right? So when I bring the broken plurals now, like khutub or khutubun, which means books, it's not a sound plural, it's a broken plural. I can't use the masculine plural forms or the feminine plural forms related to describing, like the personal pronoun, using personal pronouns with it, what we call dama'ir, not dama'ir, ismu ishara, the demonstratives with it. I can't use it the plural masculine form. I have to use the feminine singular form. I didn't get into it today deeply because it's going to too much. If you don't understand muthanna, then I explain all these other things. It's too much to throw in one head in one lesson, right? Too much. But I'll give you some little taste of it that you're going to see why understanding feminine words are important. Why understanding how to make the adjective feminine. How the rule goes for the adjective for the noun. And how you're going to learn, when we learn about the broken plural, that some of the rules can be changed. Some of the rules in some case can be changed. So that's why this book is focused on all those other lessons before we get into this lesson. And this actually book here didn't talk about none of that stuff. This book is only good for related to verbs. This book right here, Arabic Made Easy, is very excellent for verb by seeing they have some of the different patterns, because Arabic verbs have different forms of it. He explained a little bit more detailed here. In English, is a little bit more clear and detailed. In this particular book, he does explain it well. Some people might find it hard, but he gets some other things that he mentioned here that isn't mentioned in this book right here. All right? So that's why I stopped doing that book, just to repeat myself. So go over the previous lessons. Video 1, Video 2, Video 3, Lesson 1, Lesson 2, Lesson 3. Go over them. Go over the book. Arabic Made Easy. go over to lesson 1 all the way up to lesson 6 in this book, Arabic Made Easy. Go on this book, lesson 1, 2, and 3 only. Lesson 1, 2, and 3 only. Don't go to lesson 4 in this book. I'm sorry. Go over lesson 1. In this book, over lesson 1, he explained it. But this book right here, Arabic Made Easy, explain what is it? What's a hard, a little bit more detailed explanation, a little bit better, right? So, inshallah, we will end with that. And anybody have any questions, inshallah, this is the time to ask. If anybody have any questions, this is the time to ask, because I'm about to close out, inshallah. And anything that's not understood about what is the ism, what is the adjective, and how the adjective agree with the noun, if you don't understand that, go over that chapter in this book, which is, I believe it is chapter 3, on lesson 3. In Arabic Made Easy, lesson 3, go over that. Because when we get into the plural, you gotta know that before we go to the plural lesson, which is going to be lesson 7. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik wa shallallahu wa ant wa astaghfirullah wa tubu ilayk.